Hey everybody, it's Mark again, and I want to talk about what is known as the cuckoo bird rod shut-off lever. I want to make sure I told you that right. Cuckoo bird rod locking lever, same thing. And we're talking about regular 25, regular 34s, and even bad op and AMS movements, but I'm going to be showing a regular series movement. Let's say your clock will not stop cuckooing, but I showed you how to put the clock back together where you got the Pac-Man, the pin of the rack stop lever into the mouth, directly into the mouth of the Pac-Man. There's a series, and I've got a video that explains every part on a regular 25 movement, but I go over other movements also, and I talk about that in this video, but I'm going to title this video differently so when people search, they will find this video. The rack stop lever has certain things have to happen to make your clock quit cuckooing. A, the rack stop lever tab has to hit the third wheel warning pin. When it's all done, the pin on the rack stop lever has to go into what I call the Pac-Man's mouth, and I know it's not called that. It's called the gathering cam with gathering pin, but it's just easier to say Pac-Man for those critics who have an issue with me saying Pac-Man. Do your own videos. But the tab, the pin on the rack stop lever, when the clock is all done cuckooing, it goes into the Pac-Man's mouth. At the same time frame, the third wheel warning pin hits the tab that falls into that section of the movement. But one other step has to happen, and a lot of people don't realize this. Maybe I didn't explain it good enough in the parts video, but one other thing has to happen. And so let's talk about that. And again, this is on one of my buddy's parts movement. It just so happens to be a regular 34. But on the side here, there's that cuckoo bird shut-off lever. This thing right here that goes up and down. And I want to show you on this movement, but I don't have the Pac-Man set up right. When it cuckoos, this bird shut-off lever grabs a hold of that pin. That pin pushes on the bird post. So when it cuckoos, the bird post is pushing the bird out the door. And it stays out the door until it's done cuckooing. If your bird is coming in and out of the door, there's a tab on the end of the rack stop lever. This right here is the rack stop lever. This is what goes into the notches of the rack. This is the pin that I was telling you about that goes into the mouth of the gathering can with gathering pin, or Pac-Man is what I call it. This tab right here is what goes into the movement that the third wheel warning pin hits. And then you have this tab right here. This tab right here hits, when it's done cuckooing, this tab right here hits the tail of this cuckoo bird shutoff lever, which pushes it down to allow it to release that pin that I told you is what pushes on the bird post. This pin right here, which pushes the bird outside. If while it's cuckooing, your bird is doing this, that's because the tab, the very last tab that I showed you, which is, it's right here. Let me put some light in on the situation. It's actually right here. And this is the end of that cuckoo bird shutoff lever. If your cuckoo is going in and out as it's cuckooing, that tab is bent down too far. And so what's happening is it cuckoos, and because it's this rack tab right, the rack stop lever tab right here is gathering up the next notch on the rack, it comes back out. Then it cuckoos and it comes back in. Then it cuckoos and it comes back in. And it cuckoos and it comes back in. So that tab, which is right here, again, could be bent too far down. If, when it's all done cuckooing, when it's supposed to be all done, in other words, when this tab right here goes underneath the rack, this is supposed to fall into the Pac-Man's mouth, this pen, and then that tab is supposed to release, this is supposed to hit on the tail of the cuckoo bird shutoff lever, which in turn releases this pin, which in turn allows the bird post to go back inside. But if you know that you got the Pac-Man set up right to where the third wheel warning pin is hitting the end of that tab, and this pin is going directly into the Pac-Man's mouth, there's two other possibilities. A, this rack stop lever is bent and it's not dropping properly. The spring could be too loose, or it might not be on the rack stop lever. It could be, like I said, it could be bent, and it could be up too high on the Pac-Man and touching the Pac-Man, not allowing it to drop all the way. Or, about the last possibility, if I'm covering all the bases, this tab is not bent down far enough to hit the tail of this cuckoo bird shutoff lever, and I'm going to hit that tail, and I want you to pay attention to that cuckoo bird shutoff lever. I'm going to hit the tail with a toothpick. Or try to hit it. I got this. Again, I was playing around with this movement earlier, so I'm going to go to this movement here. I got the other movement all bent out of shape. So currently that is the cuckoo bird shutoff lever's got that pin in its mouth. but I want you to pay attention to it. See, I hit the end of the tail and it released it. That's the same thing that this tab, and again, you should be able to see it both here. There's the tab that is part of the rack stop lever, and you should be able to see it right here. That tab, when it's all said and done with, it is what lets the cuckoo bird go back inside the door and stay inside the door. And I'm working with an 8-day movement. These things are hard as crap to turn with somebody who's been working all day. It almost released it. Well, it actually did release it, but because the other parts are not on this movement, it didn't spring out. There's the bird post that makes that thing spring. This tab right here, which is attached to the bird post, is what, when this thing is released, makes this thing spring out like that. So recap, if your clock is continuing to cuckoo when the tab of the rack stop lever is underneath the rack, more than likely the tab that hits the tail of this cuckoo bird shutoff lever is not bent down far enough. And there's one other thing I want to point out. Do you see? This is that cuckoo bird tab shutoff lever. This is that tab. Again, this is the tab, and this is a cuckoo bird shutoff lever. Do you see how close they are to each other? The only thing that's keeping that thing aligned right there on this particular movement is this compression washer right here. If I was to move that out of the way, now the tab might not hit that cuckoo bird shutoff lever when it's all said and done with. You might have. I was just working on a clock for my friend, and we've been working on that thing for a couple of days. And every once in a great while, it would continue to cuckoo. And come to find out, this tab was not bent down far enough to release the cuckoo bird shutoff lever, which makes the clock quit cuckooing. Because the bird goes back in the door. This is up here. The pin is in the Pac-Man's mouth, and the third wheel warning pin, which is right here, is hitting the tab of the rack stop lever that goes into the movement. So if your clock is continuing to cuckoo, and I don't care whether it's a regular 25, regular 34, and even the bat off and AMS movements, they're pretty well all built the same way. They will have the AMS movement, and I don't have an AMS movement or a bat off movement in front of me, but they will all have something to release the bird post that makes the bird go out in the first place. And so again, it might cuckoo fine on 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, but maybe 5 or 6 o'clock, it might not cuckoo. It might not stop cuckooing. And that's because this tab is not releasing the bird I forget what it's called. I've been working too hard. Sorry. The cuckoo bird rod locking lever. That might not be releasing the cuckoo bird rod locking lever, which is going to allow your cuckoo to continue to cuckoo until the weight hits the floor. Or it's possible that you could rotate the hands really fast to get the rack to go somewhere else, and maybe the next time around it drops, it will drop harder to release this cuckoo bird rod locking lever, and you might have to tighten up the spring that on the regular 25 and regular 34s that pushes down on this thing. And it's very important that when you got this movement apart, I tell people all the time, only oil things that go round and round and around. If it lifts up and drops, you don't oil it. Well, that cuckoo bird rod locking lever, it lifts up and drops. Oiling it over time, the oil and the grime and dirt and stuff is going to make it stiff to where it won't drop freely on its own counterweight. The way it's designed, it goes into a post right here. This thing is heavy enough that it should lift up and down because all the weight is right here. But if that is dirty from oil and grime and stuff, it's not going to allow it to drop. Never oil that. Always clean it. Always take it apart. Stick a toothpick in the hole, and clean it, just like I tell you for snails and for the racks. Don't oil the racks. Don't oil the snails. I take that back. The snail goes round and round and round, so you can do that. But the rack doesn't go round and round and round. It lifts up, it drops. It lifts up, it drops. So always clean. Always take this off and always clean this hole that this thing slides onto that post over. Anyway, if this video has helped you, give me a thumbs up, leave me some comments, and I hope this video has helped. May God bless each and every one of you. One last thought. Again, I discussed this in this video that I have going over every part and what each part does and trouble issues with each part. And so if you haven't watched that video, please watch it. All you have to do is search for, just type in parts, Mark Mutterland parts on YouTube, or be on my YouTube channel, and there's a little search bar specifically for my videos, and type in parts, and you will come across a section that is called a video. It's called Cuckoo Clock for Beginners, Parts of a Movement. And again, I discuss all the parts, what the name of the parts are, and what each part is for. I forgot to mention, it's been a long day. Ron, slave driver, he's getting a whip out on me. But it's not just a regular 25 or regular 34. It's a regular 70, regular 72. They all have that cuckoo bird shutoff lever. So if your clock is cuckooing too many times when it shouldn't be, You might want to check that. This is a regular 3 movement, which is a predecessor of the regular 34. I think this came out in the 40s or 50s. And it's got division management, UG management, which is a system for, it's a cheap patent system. I think they applied for it. It was good for 3 years, and then they could do it again for another 3 years. But this is a Herbert Hur movement, which is unusual because Herbert Hur made their own movements. But this is a Regula 3 movement. And we're going to discuss a little bit about this. This is the lift lock lever, this black part that I'm lifting up right now. This is the rack stop lever. Now this rack stop lever is designed to lift up the rack and to stop the system from cuckooing afterwards. And if you follow this rack stop lever through, it goes through the movement and it's connected to this black piece here. This black piece here on this particular movement goes through and it lifts what is known as the cuckoo bird rod locking lever, which is this piece right here that I'm lifting up and down. So when the clock cuckoos, this pin right here goes underneath this cuckoo bird rod locking lever, and the bird goes out. But when it's done, the rack stop lever, when it's all said and done with, it lifts this tab up, and if you watch this, it's going to hit that cuckoo bird rod locking lever. Well, it's not now because the rack's not in the right position. So I'm going to go ahead and trip it, move it, and then watch the cuckoo bird rod. When this tab gets underneath the rack, it gives you enough clearance for this spring to lift and slam and hit the cuckoo bird rod locking lever, which is going to do this to allow the bird to come back in, because this piece lets go of that wire. And so here we go. And you could see the bird came back in. Now I'm going to I got the wire underneath cuckoo bird rod locking lever, and like I said, this tab, this part on the rack stop lever on the back side is spring loaded, so when it's all done, it slams into it's probably tripped again. Yeah, it's tripped. When it's all done, it slams into that, which releases it. Now, if this trip lever right here is too close to the pen, to this pin right here, this is what this lever, just like on the count wheel type movements, this, you push on it and it makes the bird go outside the door. And if this is too close to this pin right here, the cuckoo bird is going to flutter. And so I'm going to push it closer. And I'm going to trip the clock. And I want you, I'm going to put it in a different spot. I want you to watch the bird post. If I could get it to do what I want it to do. You see how the bird post is? It's not releasing this, the cuckoo bird rod locking lever. It's not releasing this wire, but the bird post is moving back and forth. And that is because this lever here is too close to this wire. So now when I bend it away from that wire and we trip it, now watch that bird post. It's still too close. So I'm going to bend it away a little bit more. You see how it's not fluttering anymore? But this right here will cause your cuckoo to come in and out of the door. And the reason why is because this lever is not bent far enough to push on this wire enough for the cuckoo bird rod locking lever to grab a hold of that wire. So you will see that the bird post isn't fluttering, and you will also see this trip lever bouncing back and forth. It has to be adjusted just enough when you push this in after it's tripped, when you push this in, that it grabs the cuckoo bird rod locking lever grabs a hold of that wire. But if it's not pushed in enough, then it's not going to, this wire is not going to go underneath that cuckoo bird rod locking lever, and so the cuckoo bird will come in and out of the door as it cuckoos. One more time. The cuckoo is bouncing in and out of the door as it cuckoos. So to stop that, I need to bend this black lever down some more, but not too much. Didn't bend it down enough. So now the post isn't coming in and out of the door, but it is fluttering just a little bit. You see that? Let me show it to you again. It is fluttering just a little bit, and that's because I bent the black lever that pushes on that wire too much. So I'm going to back it off just a tiny bit. And so now it's not bluttering. But it's not catching that wire either, so I gotta. You have to, anyway, you have to adjust the stuff just enough so everything lines up correctly. To allow you to be satisfied. And there I got it adjusted just right. So now, when it's tripped, this wire is going to go underneath this cuckoo bird rod locking lever. The bird post will come out, it'll stay out, and it won't blutter. You see it's not bluttering? And when it's done cuckooing, it goes back in. But you will see that this black lever is still bouncing back and forth, but it's not bouncing back and forth enough to where it's touching this wire down here, which causes this post to blutter. Which, even though the cuckoo bird is outside the door, he's sitting there bluttering a little bit. He's coming in and out just a tiny bit. But now he won't do that. And while I have this movement out, I like doing the tilt test to make sure that the spring wire is going to bring the bird back. But you see how this wire, it comes up here and it comes, there's a lot of play in this wire right here. So I'm going to unwrap this and tighten it up some more, because I want the bird to snap back into the door when it is done cuckooing. And yes, you can break the wire while you're doing it, but it's not my clock, so I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm just messing with y'all. Ron's got plenty of wire. I can fix it. So now, there's not that much play, and now when I do the tilt test, this thing really snaps back. So I'm happy with that. One more time. When the clock is tripped, when the cuckoo is tripped after, of course, the tab is going directly into the teeth of the rack. And when I start pushing on this wheel, this lever here is going to push this wire into the movement, which is going to cause this wire to go underneath the cuckoo bird rod locking lever. Well, it was. Let me adjust this some more. I think it had something to do with me tightening up that spring. So, again, rack stop lever comes down, it catches onto the rack. The third wheel warning pin is released. This black lever here is going to push on this wire, which is going to move the bird post over, which the cuckoo rod locking lever grabs a hold of this wire, which pushes the bird outside the case, and it stays outside the case while it's cuckooing. And then at the very end, on the opposite side of the movement, this part of the rack stop lever, which is spring loaded, is going to push up on the cuckoo rod locking lever, which is going to release that wire to allow the bird to come back into the case. Just like that. And if your bird is fluttering, not necessarily going in and out of the door, but fluttering, it's because this black lever, as it cuckoos, it's touching this wire right here, which causes it to flutter. And so, if it's doing that, just back off the black lever some. But the black lever has to be adjusted enough to allow this pin to go underneath the cuckoo rod locking lever to allow the bird to come out and stay out. But if it's not adjusted enough, when the cuckoo is tripped, watch this post. It's going to go in and out because it can't go, because the black lever is not tripped enough to push this wire underneath the cuckoo bird rod locking lever. So, fine adjustments is what you need to get where you need to go. I will get there again. It's just a matter of time. There, I got it all out of whack. I shouldn't have adjusted this stupid spring to allow the bird to come back in. It was working, but I wanted to make it better. As you can see now, when this is pushed, it grabs a hold of the cuckoo bird rod locking lever, grabs a hold of that wire. So the bird stays out. But you see the wire fluttering, and that's because this black lever is touching that wire just a little bit. So I need to back off that black lever. So now you can see that post is not fluttering. But when it's tripped, it's not catching the rod locking lever. So again, it's just a matter of proper adjustments. And this is a 8-day movement. Regula 3, Regula 3, whatever it's called. And it was made for Herbert Hur. And again, Herbert Hur normally makes their own movements. Hope this video helped. Give me a like. Leave me comments. May God bless each and every one of you.